This is Judge Gray, and it's nice to be with you again.
Prohibition that empowers our terrorist enemies, the dangerous cartels, the violent gangs. They all benefit because of that policy.
Why don't people realize that? In fact, ask yourselves, in any program you can discuss, any government program or any other program, there are always some winners and some losers, right? And that's true with regard to health care or education or whatever. It's certainly true with regard to drug prohibition. Who is winning today? With regard to our program of drug prohibition, I have 5 groups. See if you agree. Because the first one is the big-time drug dealers, and they're making billions of dollars a year tax-free, and they're laughing at us when we only seize 5 to 10% of their product. That's basically just the cost of doing business. Second group of people that are winning are basically the people involved in law enforcement and government agencies that are paid huge tax money to fight against the first group. It's an amazing and somewhat ironical situation that both the good guys and the bad guys have a vested interest in the continuation of our status quo. Third group of people that are winning are the politicians that get elected and re-elected by talking tough with regard to the war on drugs. Not smart, not effectively, but we elect them and re-elect them by, trying to show how tough they are and put everybody in prison, which of course doesn't work. The fourth group of people that are winning are in the private sector, the people that make money because of increased crime. Who is that? Not hard to see. It's the people that build prisons, extremely lucrative operation. People that staff prisons. State of California, the strongest lobby group in our state today is the Prison Guards Union. I expect it's the same in Texas and every other state of our country. They are winning. People that sell security systems, people that sell burglar alarm equipment, that sort of stuff, they're having a wonderful time. They're winning. And then the fifth group is, just like you said, if we really cared about fighting terrorism, we would take the one step that would be the most critical in bringing terrorism down, and that is take away their funding. Drug prohibition is the golden goose of terrorism all around the world. You look at Afghanistan, you look at all of these creeps and cowards, most of the primary source of funding comes from the sale of illegal drugs. And I regret to say that the government of the United States of America doesn't really care that much about fighting terrorism because they are causing it to be funded by billions of dollars by our program and policy of drug prohibition. It is not a pretty sight. The government, with great fanfare, points to the voluntary household use of cocaine or various illegal drugs, and they tout that fewer and fewer people are using them. That's transparently not only untrue but silly, because the harder we prosecute these things, the more onerous the prison sentences, the less people voluntarily are going to acknowledge to the government that they used this stuff. But if you look at the seizures, no one in government enforcement will tell you with a straight face that we seize more than 10% of the illegal drugs in our society, and the more candid ones will tell you the truth, which is it's about 5%. So for every ton of cocaine we seize, for example, that's not a victory, it's a symptom of the depth of the problem, because for every ton we seize, we easily fail to seize somewhere between 10 and 15 tons. And somebody is out there, somebody is buying them, somebody is certainly using them. We're in trouble. And let's change our approach to do that. The other thing that people don't focus on is that, and it's an irony, it's a deadly one, but that we could actually bulldoze the entire country of Colombia, for example. In fact, we could take Peru and Bolivia with it, and it wouldn't make the slightest bit of difference with regard to our drug problems here. Why? Because if the demand is here, the demand will be met. And if it's not met by Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru or Bolivia, it'll be met by Nigeria or by Thailand or by Afghanistan or even here in my home state in California. Do you know what the largest cash crop is today in the state of California? Well, it's marijuana. And number 2 is grapes, if you care. So that shows how successful we are in eradicating marijuana, for heaven's sake. And the last thing before I stop this tirade, because I just feel so strongly about this, and it's just silly and counterproductive as to what we're doing. The head of the DEA, about 5 years ago now, was quoted as saying that at any one time, there are about 200 tons of cocaine in Mexico within 3 miles of our border being warehoused in order to look into our country and see where there's a shortage so they can smuggle it in. So there's no absence of this stuff. The quality is higher than ever before. The amounts are absolutely through the roof, and we just simply couldn't do this worse if we tried. So let's recognize that and adopt accordingly.
Thank you. Once again, we're speaking with Judge James P. Gray, the author of the book, Why Our Drug Laws Have Failed, What We Can Do About It, a judicial indictment of the war on drugs, and I highly recommend it to anyone out there who is concerned and thinks maybe there is a better solution.
This whole medical marijuana issue. No, allow medical marijuana to be distributed to adults. Allow medical doctors, by the way, to prescribe medicines for their patients instead of having police make medical decisions. But that whole area in which the federal government is truly coming on like a bully, and they deserve our animosity for it. And I hope that you and your listeners are appreciative of this. We could revitalize the entire hemp industry, which goes back thousands of years. Even in the word ancient Greek, there was the word for canvas was synonymous with the word for cannabis, and it goes back thousands of years, and there are many, many beneficial usages for hemp. In fact, we can even use hemp products here, but we have to import them from Canada, for example. Why should we put our merchants behind the 8 ball? Why should we not allow them to raise the hemp here as well? So those are just for openers, and there's no negative. A lot of people today have their drug of choice as marijuana, but we almost coerce them up the drug scale into using methamphetamines or cocaines because the marijuana is so much easier to detect. First of all, it has that aroma, it's more bulky, and all importantly, if you're concerned about drug testing, the marijuana will stay in your body and your system for about 30 days. The methamphetamines or cocaines will stay in your system for about 3 days. So if you're concerned about being caught, message, use cocaine, use methamphetamine, don't use marijuana. That is simply a stupid thing to do, but that's what's happening today. So if we were to treat marijuana like alcohol, I'm convinced that a lot of people would come down the ladder and go back to their original drug of choice, which would be marijuana. We should do that.